Imagine walking into a coffee shop and instead of paying in dollars, euros, or rupees, you pay with knowledge. That's right. What if knowledge was not just power, but actual currency, tracked, stored, and secured by blockchain technology? Let's dive into this mind-boggling scenario and see where it takes us. Alright, let's imagine a world where knowledge has a standard unit of measurement. Let's call it KBit. Every time you learn something new, your digital knowledge wallet gets credited with KBits. Forget traditional bank accounts. People now monitor their brain balance instead. At birth, each individual would receive a KBit chip implant, virtually connected to a decentralized blockchain server. This chip would record their learning experiences throughout life, quantifying knowledge into spendable currency. But to understand this system fully, we must examine its three core components: knowledge, currency, and blockchain. Knowledge encompasses facts, information, and skills acquired through experience or education. Simple, right? But can we really measure our knowledge? Is memorizing the periodic table worth more than mastering the perfect steak? Does an advanced degree in astrophysics outweigh decades of carpentry expertise? The moment we try to quantify knowledge, things get complicated. To address this, different fields of knowledge would carry different valuations. The value of knowledge would be determined by its applicability, rarity, difficulty, and demand. Advanced medical knowledge might be highly valuable due to its life-saving potential. It's the applicability factor. Knowledge in quantum physics versus basic arithmetic would be an example of rarity aspect. Mastering a musical instrument or a martial art would fall in difficulty category, whereas coding skills in current tech-driven society would be in demand category. Thus, K-bits would be generated algorithmically, weighing these parameters. High-value domains like medicine or engineering might yield more K-bits than common or niche skills. Now, currency. It's a system of exchange used to buy goods and services. Traditional money has issues like counterfeiting, inflation, and value fluctuations. Further, being a physical asset, some people hoard it like dragons hoard gold. But if knowledge becomes currency, it can only have virtual value, much like cryptocurrency, that too backed by intellectual capital. This is where blockchain becomes critical. Blockchain would act as a decentralized ledger, recording every transaction of knowledge exchange, ensuring transparency, and preventing fraud. Unlike traditional money, knowledge transactions would require verification, perhaps through AI-driven systems that validate whether a person truly understands what they claim. Every time a person learns something, an immutable record would be created, ensuring authenticity. The blockchain system would measure knowledge based on multiple factors and convert it into K-bits. The entire process would be managed in real time, ensuring a seamless and fraud-free system. This means there wouldn't be any scope for faking a degree or claiming expertise without proof. Learning institutions, scientific communities, and industry experts could function as validators, ensuring that the knowledge economy remains authentic and valuable. One of the key applications of blockchain in this system would be knowledge mining. Similar to cryptocurrency mining, where miners validate and secure transactions, knowledge mining would involve individuals contributing to the collective pool of verified information. AI-assisted validators would scan, cross-reference, and authenticate new knowledge submissions, rewarding the contributors with K-bits. This would encourage not only learning but also innovation, as those who discover new theories, invent novel technologies, or contribute fresh perspectives to historical understanding would get rewarded. Knowledge mining would democratize education, allowing experts from different corners of the world to earn and share verified information, fostering an open-source intellectual economy. So how would the K-bit chip function alongside the blockchain system? The K-bit chip embedded in the brain would automatically convert acquired knowledge into K-bits based on a predefined algorithm managed by the blockchain system. Each K-bit would be linked to the specific knowledge from which it was generated, but spending K-bits would not cause the person to forget or depreciate that knowledge. Instead, To earn more KBits, individuals would have to acquire new knowledge beyond what they had previously learned and spent. This system ensures a continuous pursuit of learning rather than a simple exchange of existing knowledge for transactions. However, if a person naturally begins to forget certain aspects of previously acquired knowledge, the corresponding KBits would gradually depreciate in value, reinforcing the need for ongoing learning and intellectual upkeep. Verification and authentication would be the backbone of this system. AI-driven mechanisms would assess learning through real-time problem-solving, peer validation, and periodic assessments. For instance, an engineer earning KBits in structural mechanics might be tested on complex equations before being credited. Similarly, a historian would need to demonstrate deep understanding through validated research contributions. This constant verification would prevent fraud and ensure credibility. Now, let's explore how society would function under this system. Want to buy a car? Just wire some KBits to the dealer. Want to learn Kung Fu? Download it instantly, Matrix style. KBits could even be donated to those in need, such as underprivileged students or struggling researchers. People would earn KBits by learning, reading, solving problems, or creating new ideas. A child answering a tough math question would receive KBits. A scientist publishing a paper or a chef teaching someone how to make sushi would get paid in KBits. Meanwhile, someone bluffing their way through an argument would find their knowledge wallet flashing insufficient funds. A mechanic would get KBits by fixing a car. A historian would earn KBits by retelling ancient stories accurately or uncovering a lost civilization. An artist would be paid in KBits for mastering and teaching a rare painting technique. A rural teacher would earn massive KBits by educating children who previously had no access to formal learning. Every profession, from travelers documenting experiences to musicians composing original scores, would generate KBits. Educational institutions would no longer charge tuition in money, but in KBits. Students would pay by investing their existing knowledge or engaging in knowledge-based work. Universities might issue knowledge loans, which students would repay by gaining expertise in their fields. Vocational training would gain immense importance as practical skills would hold tangible value. Professors and trainers would become some of the wealthiest individuals, while online education platforms would boom as knowledge sharing became a major earning source. If society became solely knowledge-driven, who would do manual labor? Knowledge wouldn't replace labor, but would enhance it. Architects would design smarter buildings, engineers would automate construction processes, and AI-driven tools would assist in managing physical tasks. However, practical skills in construction, engineering, and craftsmanship would still be highly valued. Hiring would be knowledge-based. Companies would scan a candidate's knowledge wallet instead of a resume, instantly verifying their expertise. What about athletes, craftsmen, and physically skilled professionals? Their expertise in training, demonstrating, and biomechanical efficiency would still be valued and exchanged as knowledge currency. Sports science and skill-based knowledge would provide them with KBits. Social media platforms would transform into intellectual trading hubs. Instead of likes and shares, people would gain KBits for valuable content. Monetization would be based on knowledge contribution rather than advertising. Copyright and intellectual property would be safeguarded through blockchain, ensuring fair recognition and eliminating plagiarism. Misinformation would be flagged, maintaining a credible knowledge economy. Politically, knowledgeable leaders would naturally be favored, leading to a technocracy where the most educated individuals govern. However, power concentrated among intellectual elites could create a new form of aristocracy. Policies would be knowledge-driven, but whether they would be suitable and just, that would be a debate. Would those with lower knowledge base have fair representation? Would knowledge banks exist? Not in the traditional sense. For individuals, the KBit chip and blockchain system would function as their bank. At the national level, there would be a knowledge reservoir that would act as the central repository of collective human intelligence, managed by a decentralized blockchain system. This vast intellectual treasury would store surplus KBits acquired through taxation, donations, and expired accounts. Governments or global institutions could allocate KBits from the reservoir to fund public projects, sponsor education, or stimulate research and innovation. However, just like financial markets, the knowledge economy would require stringent regulation to prevent hoarding, artificial inflation of knowledge value, or unethical exploitation. The reservoir could also serve as a knowledge exchange, where individuals or institutions borrow KBits for specific purposes, repaying through new learning contributions. International trade would revolve around this knowledge exchange. Countries specializing in technology might trade with those excelling in medicine. Blockchain would regulate and distribute global knowledge securely and equitably. When a person passes away, what happens to their accumulated KBits? Would they vanish into the void, or would they find new purpose? In a world where knowledge is currency, death wouldn't mean an end to a person's intellectual wealth. Instead, the blockchain system could incorporate a knowledge will, allowing individuals to allocate their KBits to heirs, institutions, or charitable causes upon their demise. A scientist might choose to donate their accumulated KBits to a research foundation, ensuring their knowledge continues to fuel discoveries. A teacher might pass theirs to an underprivileged education fund, providing learning opportunities for future generations. However, what if someone fails to create a knowledge will? Would their KBits be absorbed into the government's knowledge reservoir, redistributed for public welfare, or auctioned off in a grand intellectual marketplace? The ethical and legal battles over inheritance in a knowledge-based economy would be as heated as those over material wealth today. Would this system ensure fair access to education and knowledge-based opportunities? Or would it create a new form of intellectual elite, controlling access to the most valuable information? The balance between accessibility and security would determine whether the knowledge economy flourishes or fractures. Had knowledge been currency since the earliest days of trade and civilization, history would have unfolded in fascinatingly different ways. Ancient scholars, philosophers, and inventors would have been the wealthiest individuals, shaping society not just through their ideas, but through their immense intellectual fortunes. Socrates wouldn't have been sentenced to death. He'd have been the richest man in Greece. The Great Library of Alexandria wouldn't have been a mere collection of books, but a central knowledge bank where scholars deposited their wisdom for future generations, earning KBits in return. Newton's discovery of gravity would have made him a billionaire, and Einstein's theories would have granted him intellectual dominance over nations. Medieval guilds wouldn't have traded in gold but in expertise, and wars might have been fought over the control of knowledge rather than land or resources. The Renaissance, rather than being a cultural revival, would have been an economic revolution as artists and scientists amassed KBits through their contributions. In this alternate history, societies that prioritized learning and intellectual growth would have become global superpowers, while those failing to advance knowledge would have suffered intellectual bankruptcy. Would the world have progressed faster with knowledge as currency, or would greed for information have led to an era where the privileged few controlled human advancement? Of course, this utopia isn't without flaws. Unequal access to education could widen wealth gaps. Fake knowledge could infiltrate the system. People might prioritize profitable knowledge over cultural, ethical, and creative pursuits, though, let's be honest, that already happens. Countries with superior education systems might dominate the global economy, leaving others behind. Knowledge-based relationships would remain purely transactional. Would this be an intellectual utopia or an elitist dystopia? The answer, as always, depends on how humanity wields its greatest asset, knowledge. So, what do you think? Would a knowledge-based currency create a better world or a more divided one? Let me know your thoughts, and don't forget to share this with your Brainzilla friends. After all, that's basically free knowledge. Until next time.